So, if we're going to talk about that short in this video, which is about 10 minutes and 57 minutes long, I mean 10 minutes and 57 seconds, and I'm doing this, I've had a few beers, okay, so I'm drinking my old Milwaukee here, um, and I'm an old man by a lot of people's standards, and I come from another era, I really do. I'm a throwback. I'm pretty much like Captain, Captain America, in that my upbringing was filled with reruns from the 1960s, black and white. So we're talking like Beverly Hillbillies, Andy Mayberry, um, Lassie, Littlest Hobo, Dogs, I Love Lucy, Mork and Mindy, excuse me, and other reruns like Looney Tunes and so on and so forth. Because we didn't have cable, we didn't, and my father refused to get cable. Um, I remember, if this is an anecdote, I remember watching Power Rangers on a half blurred screen, with rabbit ears on the television in Oro. So that's just north of Barrie. And again, as I just did that short, we'll see how quickly I can pack this in, to this video. I'm not packing it in anytime soon, I'm telling you that. Again, the wisdom of the old worlds, and again, it is that to some women the house was a prison, but that's because they're whores, right? I'll go out and say this, is that some women are so baby hungry, that they'll go behind the back of the man who happens to be loyal and happens to be dependable, right? A steady plotter, so to speak. In that, the cutthroat competition of the earlier eras of the 21st century, because they were in the Cold War, so everything that people did after a while was life and death. And so many people of this era, you have to remember this, were veterans. They were war veterans from the Second World War. What did they do when they came home? Oh, I don't know. And most of them settled down and got married. The other ones joined the Hells Angels and became rebels, misfits, and criminals, because of the lack of understanding and knowledge, of the treatment of PTSD, and then also induced psychosis, if not, actual psychopathy, because of brain injuries, and because of, they called it shell shock, right? But this is real, because the pressure waves, as the educated people know, that a 50 caliber bullet passing by your head, whizzing by your head, is enough of a pressure differential to blow out your eardrum and then cause you concussive damage to your brain, right? This is because the bow wave off of the bullet, like a boat, right? It's going to have wake turbulence behind it, and so, like, it was enough for the man to just even keep his shit together, let alone, run a household. And so again, this attitude and this misunderstanding is that, second and third wave, and then intersectional and grievance feminists don't seem to understand, is that when you understand your own nature and you're educated about female nature, then you become a mature person, right? Because when you're in control of your impulses and your emotions, that makes you an adult. Only children lash out in anger, the immature. either emotionally, physically, or judicially. In the absence of good male role models, what happens? The cat fighting starts. Because whether you like it or not, we're monkeys. And we're not as smart as we think we are. We're really not. You know? And this concept and this assault on a gilded cage, so to speak. And I'm not denying that didn't happen, that domestic abuse didn't happen. You know, but I bet you if we looked at the statistics, the rates of domestic violence were much lower in this trustworthy society because so many people were veterans, and trained killers. So respect was paramount. And this is what we don't understand about the boomers and even our grandparents, is the fact that it took so much effort for them to even exist. They didn't have time to create drama. They didn't have time to think about these high concepts of equality and equity. They were too busy getting shit done and just appreciating what little they had because they wanted a quiet life. They wanted a simple life. They didn't want to have bullets flying at them. They didn't want to have conflicts. So they negotiated with their partners as equals. And we destroyed that because it takes 3 generations from wealth to ruin. And wealth isn't just money or material, it's also knowledge. There's different kinds of wealth. And we allowed it to happen because of external manipulation, and if I dare say, Jewish revolutionary spirit. Again, I don't say this out of racism. I don't say this out of mean-heartedness or any kind of anti-Semitism. But this is the reality, is that the ethos of Christian and Jewish religions don't always mix. They don't. Excuse me. So when we try to impose cultural values by force on each other, then we both lose. It's as simple as that, because it causes more conflict than was anticipated. The cure becomes worse than the condition. And we've seen the result of that now in a multitude of ways. And I hate linoleum. And but when it was new, linoleum was amazing. Or like, laminated plastic. Again, you're talking about the age of Tupperware and the dominance of DuPont and Cargill and IBM and Hughes Aerospace. They were not concerned with environmentalism. They weren't concerned with how long they were going to live. They were concerned with being nuked and the constant threat of annihilation. Because they got themselves into so many proxy wars. Again, women were not in the military. It was a man's work. in that men don't have babies. And so women are more valuable in an organized and free and justified society where the social contract or common sense, right, wasn't just worshipped, it was enforced by the law and law enforcement. But we have in 2024 so many foreign bad actors and people of, this these fractured subcultures, microcosms, basically, localized, I don't know what they call it. We'll call them covens, localized covens, in which their only purpose is revolution. But change for change's sake, or a change for the sake of change, it doesn't work. It never did. It never will. But some people make money off the grief and suffering of other people because they were never in touch with the earth itself. What's that concept? What's that thing? The attitude of some rich people, in that I live in my tower and my feet never grace the earth. Everything is done for me. The age of celebrity is over. It's over. The age of worshiping people just because they're well known is over. Real authority comes from character. And it comes from your respect of other people in relationships. And that's what I personally would like to see, is the redistribution of respect. Because how many people have killed themselves to be martyrs and for the cause celebre of the moment, or because they lost their suicide stack, or because they broke up with a woman, or the woman broke up with them, and they feel so much regret, or they've done so many drugs that they don't feel anything anymore, or they expected the world to end in 2012, and the rest has just been misery and companionship in misery. There is no worse a prison than being in a relationship with someone that you don't want to be with. So I'm not saying this as a political statement. It's just a reflection and a communication from the engineers of the past, because there's always this disconnect between the intellectuals, right, the very smartest of us in society, and the lay people, right, the laymen. Excuse me. And like this is why I mentioned in another video why death before dishonor is stupid. It's stupid. It really is. It's about as stupid, excuse me, as continuing to support these different cultural movements that for which seek to usurp the power base that is established. Here I am, Don't hate me. Or be fearful just because I wear a set of dog tags. Not everyone in positions of power is evil. And that is the lie, right? Is that we think of what is traditional and what is established as something to be torn down, as something that's a construct that can be assaulted, and that has to be insulted, or it's institutional and or whatever else. All of the terminologies and these arguments that don't have they're plausible, or they're circumstantial arguments, and that's really annoying, isn't it? It's really annoying. So what am I really saying? As a recap, we don't understand the past, and because we don't understand the past, we're doomed to repeat the mistakes of our opponents and those that seek to tear us apart, because they benefit from our destruction. Eh? Isn't that right, Zoe? The world is a lot more complicated and a lot more simple than we think it is. Just remember that we're not as smart as we think we are.